Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Blender. In this week's episode of Blender we're going to be looking at how to create a very simple table building on last week's tutorial where we created a very simple seat. So if you've not already done last week's tutorial, go back to that and have a go at building a seat and then come back here. So this week we're going to make a very simple table. Start with a simple cube. We're going to apply material texture to it, and then we're going to import the seat we previously made and we're going to start to build our scene. So to start off, make sure you've got your workspace set out how you like it. Make sure Cycles Render is selected at the top and make sure that you've got just a cube in the center. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to scale our cube down. There's two ways to do this. We can use the scale tool at the bottom and we're going to flatten this out. So this is going to be our tabletop. If you don't want to use the scale tool there, what you can also do is press S on your keyboard for scale and then press Z on your keyboard to scale just on the Z axis. Move your mouse in and left click when you've got it to the width you like. Once we've got it flattened out, what we're going to do now is we're going to start to create the four legs coming out of the table. So to do that we go into edit mode and we select loop, cut and slide. Now the loop, cut and slide tool is much like a cake slicing tool. If we hover it over our object there, we can see a purple line appears. This is just saying whether it's going to slice it vertically or horizontally. So we're going to go vertically to start. Left click, move your mouse and you'll see the yellow line moves. When we click again, that's where it's going to slice the object. So I've clicked and it's sliced it there. And I'm going to press loop, cut and slide a couple more times. And I'm going to start to slice my model along this axis here. Okay, and now if I select the face select tool, we can see I've sliced the bottom of this into 5 faces rather than the one it was before. I'm going to use loop, cut and slide tool again, and this time I'm going to slice it horizontally. And exactly the same, I'm just going to slice it. And what we're doing here is we're making, if I go back to face select, we're making a face for each of where the chair legs is going to be. So now that I've sliced it there, I can multi-select where all 4 of the chair legs are going to be by right-clicking, holding down Shift on my keyboard, and right-clicking to select all 4 of the chair legs. And then what we're going to do is press E for extrude, and this is going to create the chair legs and pull them out. So if I press E on my keyboard, and then move my mouse down, and then left-click, then we can see we've got a very primitive simple table here with 4 table legs, 4 table legs and a tabletop. And if I go back into object mode now and switch to my render view, we can see it's a very simple table. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to apply a material to this table because at the moment it's just kind of a dull white. To do that we need to go into the materials tab, which is over on the right hand side, and it's this kind of red orange circle. If we give that a click, this takes us into our materials tab. A material is to do with kind of how reflective, how shiny or how dull the object is. What we're going to do is go down to see where it says use nodes on the surface, and we're going to click that, and from here we've got a drop down menu where we can choose the type of material we want. At the moment we've got a diffuse material, okay, which means it's a normal material that reflects a little bit of light but swallows most of it. We could have a glossy material which is reflective, we could have a glass material which is see-through, and we could have a velvet material. All of these have different qualities and it's to do with how the light interacts with them. We're just going to select a diffuse material to start with. Next what we're going to do is we're going to apply a wood texture to this table to make it look as if it's made out of wood. To do that, go to where it says colour, go to the right and there's a little dot at the end next to the white colour. If we select the dot and then we select image texture from the drop down menu, give that a click, this will open up the option to select the image that we want to add to it. Now I've already downloaded a wood texture, so I'm going to click open to select my file, navigate to where it's saved. I know I've saved all mine in a textures folder. If you want to have a look at what the textures are in your computer's folder, you can select the file preview icon, and I'm just going to select a very simple wood one. We'll go for wood texture 7. Double click it, and at the moment you'll see it's just kind of come up with the rough colour that the texture is going to be. What we need to do now is do 2 things. First of all, change the wrapping from flat to box, and then under vector, press the little circle at the end where it says default and there's a little circle, click the circle, and under texture coordinates, click generated. And now we can see we've got a wood texture. If you need to scale up or down the texture, if it's too big or too small, go up to the top of the tab bar, and next to your materials tab, you've got a textures tab, which is a white and red checkerboard. Go down to mapping, and under the scale of mapping, you can change the scale to 2 instead of 1, for example, and it will double the size of the texture. And I'm going to try 5. Or maybe not 5, we'll try 3. And there we go. So very, very simple texture there, and we've got a simple table. What we're going to do now is we're going to import the chair that we made previously into the scene. I'm going to come back out of textured view to solid view, go back to our workspace, and we can pan around and have a look. When we want to bring in a pre-existing model we've already made into the scene, we do this through a process called appending. To do this, we go up to File, choose Append, navigate to where you've saved your model. I've got mine here in my Blender Test Projects folder on my computer. Select the object you want, and then go into the Object submenu and choose Cube, because I know that that is the chair there. Click OK, and that's going to bring it in. But we can see we've got a problem immediately. The chair is spawned where the table is, and it's much too big. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we'll move it. So use your Move Selection tool at the bottom, which is the little arrow. Drag that over. And now we're going to scale this chair down. What we do here is just simply making sure you're in object mode, not edit mode. Press S on your keyboard for scale, and then move your mouse in to rescale and resize. Now, at the moment, I've got one chair there, but a table is no good if it's just got one chair, so I'm going to duplicate this chair. So right-click the chair to select it, click Duplicate under the Tools menu, and then press Escape on your keyboard straight away, and then use the green arrow to drag over your duplicated chair. And I'm just going to rotate this round. And there we go. And I just pressed R and Z on my keyboard to rotate just on the Z axis, the blue axis there. And we can repeat that process by duplicating these chairs and moving them so they're on all the 4 sides. And then we can simply add a texture to these as well. So let's have a look. At the moment they should still be matte. Ah, perfect. They've already got the wood texture applied to them. Okay, perfect. Next thing we can do now is add a very simple floor to our scene. So under Create, go Create Plane. And you see a plane's just a simple one-dimensional surface. I'm going to move this underneath where I've got my things. I'm going to scale it up by pressing S on the keyboard and then moving my mouse and right-clicking. And there we go. And we're going to do exactly the same we've just done with the table and the seating. We're going to add a material. So go to the Materials tab, making sure you've selected the plane. Click New. Go to the Colour and select your texture by going to Image Texture. Click the Open button there to open up your file browser. Go to the Textures, and we'll select this lovely floor tile there. If we go into the render view down here, we can see what it's looking at. At the minute, obviously, it's not appearing, and that's because we still need to go down to Vector and choose Generated. And there we go. Once again, that's a bit big, so I'm going to go into the Texture tab at the top and then rescale that. So I'm going to choose 5 as the X, Y, and Z scales. That's better. Now, one thing I want to do with this, because it's a tiled floor, I want to make it a bit more shiny than it is. So I'm going to go back into the materials, and instead of having a diffuse texture for this, I'm going to choose glossy. And that should make it a bit more reflective. And if it's a bit too reflective, we can increase the roughness of how glossy that is. So I'm going to do that with the roughness bar over here. I'm going to go back in solid because I can see that my chairs are actually hovering a bit over the view. So let's move that up again. There we go. I think my seats are still a bit too high, so I'm going to select my seats and I'm going to drag them down so that they're touching the floor. Right, let's have a look at this scene once again. There we go, looking better. I'm also going to go now into my world settings over here, which is the little world icon. It looks like a globe, and I'm just going to tick ambient occlusion to have a good look. Perfect, that texturing seems good. I can also, in the World tab, select the background colour, the default background light colour. At the moment it's a grey, and that's under surface colour. And I'm going to move it up so the world's a little bit brighter as its natural state. There we go. Perfect. And we're starting to have a very simple scene here. So, log on to your computers, start creating tables and shares, or start creating your table, import the shares that you made last weekend, and then create a very simple floor using the surface by adding a material and texture to it. Thanks for watching, I look forward to see your work.